Hey everyone, it's your host, Pam Spaccarotella, and on today's episode, we talk with Mike Noble, a veteran truck driver who started in 1996 with Schneider Trucking. After 20 years as a company driver, Mike decided to take the plunge and become an owner-operator with LGT. Today we hear about how he got started and what made him decide to become an owner-operator after being a company driver for most of his career. So without further ado, let's talk to Mike Noble. Okay, well, welcome back. Welcome to Driver Stories. Today we have for our guest Mike Noble. Welcome, Mike, to the podcast.
Thank you.
Mike Noble has been driving with LGT for 4 years?
5.
5 years.
Yeah.
Wow.
Going on 6, actually.
Yeah. So Mike's got a very interesting background, and I thought we'd talk a little about his background because a lot of you may be on the same career path and may be thinking about switching to owner-operator. So Mike, can you tell us a little bit about how you got started?
Well, I started off when I was in the military. Getting out of the military, I went into Schneider truck driving because at the time they had free training. So I did that, and it was 2 weeks of training, and I thought that was just enough for you to be dangerous in a truck. But I did it and got through it all. 6 months later, working at another company with my stepdad and worked there for a couple years, and then went to USF Holland where I stayed for 20 years and thought I was going to retire there, but one company buys out another company and just everything falls to pieces because it wasn't a great company that bought our company. And then so I switched and went to another company I thought was a great company, Air Liquide, got into the cryogenics, and then they get bought out. Or actually, Air Liquide buys Air Gas, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Whole bunch of different things change hands, and I was just kind of tired of one company buying out another and the whole deal, and always getting put back down in seniority because it was a whole seniority thing. And so I just decided to start my own business and did hot shot business. So I started that. It was going okay, but it wasn't great. I wasn't making the money I thought I was going to make. But I remember seeing LGT trucks come into the Air Liquide plant there in Toledo, Ohio. And a buddy of mine and I, we kept looking at them going, man, those are nice trucks. We really wish we knew how to do, work for a company like that. And not really knowing anything about them. So we talked to the driver, and he said that, that he's an owner-operator. Of course, I didn't know anything about owner-operators or anything like that. And a long story short, we started looking into it, and he came over here first, Jesse.
Mm-hmm.
And then he was telling me all the great things about LGT. So I thought, you know what, I got to give it a shot and come over here. And I wish I'd have done it when you first opened. It would have been, I'd have been a lot further ahead.
So you did your own business, and then you came and became an owner-operator, but you were a company driver first. So
yeah.
Can you talk a little bit about what the differences are to you from being a company driver versus an owner-operator?
There's lots of things, actually. Obviously, one is money. You can make a lot more money as an owner-operator. Second thing is just pride. You feel a lot better when you're working for yourself. It's not like you don't have anybody to answer to, but when you work for yourself, it's just, when you get things done, you feel a lot more accomplished than just getting a paycheck at the end of the week. There's just a lot more to it. The way it makes you feel.
Some people say there's a lot more control over it. Like you get to decide, when you go out, when you come back. And
like before, working for a company, you would have to put in for Christmas off maybe, or Easter or whatever. Here you can basically set your own schedule. The more you want to work, the more you're going to get paid. If you want to work over Christmas, you can. If not, I schedule it off myself, and that's what I like about it.
So, talking about, I'm still going back to the owner operator because one of the questions, or one of the things that people always tell me is the money's so much better. But how do you account for, I'm always cautious about that. How do you account for the fact that you have to pay your own health insurance? You have to pay your own employment taxes. I mean, do you take that into account when you're
Yeah.
talking about how much money you
Uh,
make?
yeah. It's funny because I've talked to other, friends of mine that are still working back at Holland, and the money that they make compared to the money uh, that they don't pay in health insurance because it's their Teamsters, so they only pay $75 a month, I think, is for their union dues, and that takes care of basically everything. Um, and then when they see how much I have to pay, they're like, "Heh, yeah, you're a sucker." Uh, they they see it's really not worth being an owner operator until they see the final bottom line. And yeah, I do have to pay for my lease. I have to pay for my own fuel, my own insurance, repairs on trucks and stuff like that. But in the grand scheme of things, when you have a much bigger paycheck, you can pay for those things and still have a much bigger paycheck at the end of the week compared to the company drivers, that are working for, an LTL company or something like that.
If you had a young driver come up to you and tell you, "Hey, I'm interested in becoming an owner operator," what's the one piece of advice that you would give over anything else?
Uh, Obviously, get your LLC. Um, Go to LGT. I mean, seriously, you make it so easy to be an owner operator. I've talked to other owner operators, and they've got to pay for their trailer rent and lots of all these other things, and they're having to go get their own permits. They're getting all this stuff that I don't really have to take care of. You guys take care of that, and it just makes it so easy to be an owner operator here at LGT.
Well, that's good to hear. So I'm going to skip gears here a little bit and talk a little bit about Tina.
Okay.
So a couple of years ago, I think it is now, Tina decided that she wanted to give up nursing and come drive a truck with you.
Well, yes and no. She didn't give up nursing to come drive with me. She had already given it up.
Okay.
She was a 20-year nurse. She did uh, work in, I think it was the NICU, with
Yep.
babies and
Yeah.
postpartum, antepartum mothers and stuff. And, that was grueling enough. And then she became a nurse trainer. And just with all the hours and all the headaches and I thought truck drivers worked a lot. They don't work anything compared to like nurses do. And so after 20 years, that was enough. And I was working at LGT. I was making plenty of money. She didn't have to work anymore. So I told her, go ahead and quit, retire, be done. And so she did. She spent a couple years at home, fixing up the house, doing lots of things around the house. But eventually, she's going to get bored of just sitting around too. So I told her, I said, get your CDL and come out and work with me. And ever since I didn't think she was going to at first. But then once she started really saying, yeah, this actually might work, um, she did it. And it's actually been great. We get to spend all of our time together. Um, my truck's a lot cleaner. I eat better when she's around. We've got our dog with us. Uh, so yeah, I mean, everything worked great, as far as her going and getting her CDL. Um, yeah, it worked great.
Good. So does she like driving a truck?
Actually, she does.
Yeah.
That surprised me too. I didn't think she'd like it as much as she does.
She likes being out on the road,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
seeing places you've never seen.
Right, and that's the thing is she hasn't done as much traveling as I have, obviously, with almost 30 years of truck driving. Um, but now when she goes out west and we're in Nevada or Oregon or anywhere in the Badlands of South Dakota and stuff, it's a whole different world. And most people don't see that kind of stuff. But when she get to come out with me and then she sees all this stuff, it's like when she tells her friends, it's like we're always on vacation. or always traveling somewhere really cool and getting to see some cool stuff and get paid good money to do it. So,
Any idea what your favorite places to go to? What's your favorite state? Favorite
state.
Yeah, to
I tell
drive
you,
in.
as far as beauty, California is gorgeous there. Wouldn't want to live there, but it's
Okay.
gorgeous. Um, Favorite state to like drive through? Probably Florida. It's nice flat. As far as a truck driver goes,
Yeah.
I'm thinking of fuel mileage and wear and tear on my truck and stuff like that. I'm not running up and down mountains in Florida. It's beautiful. You got palm trees. Weather's usually always nice. Always just nice things to see in Florida.
So do you guys ever stop and visit places while you're out there on the road?
Yeah. Like we'll actually make a plan that if our 34 hours is coming up, we'll look for, like, if we know we're going to a certain destination, on our way there, we'll look for a specific city that we'll uh, want to take a little mini vacation and park the truck. We can either get an Uber or rent a car, whatever, and go play and have fun for a while. Yeah.
Any memorable trips or events in your career? Anything stand out?
Something neat was, going down to SpaceX in McGregor, Texas,
Okay.
and getting to, when they are doing the tests on the rockets, all the trucks have to park. I think we're about 5 miles away or whatever in a pad, and actually getting to hear and feel the thunder of the rockets actually blasting. And you just know it's a test. It doesn't matter. I mean, it just sticks with you forever. I'll always remember the rumble in my chest and everything. It's almost like being at a concert. Yeah.
Wow.
Something like that was pretty neat.
Yeah. So after she got on the truck with you, you guys had a new little addition, right?
Yeah.
Her name's Macy, right?
Maisie. Yeah.
Maisie. So tell us about Maisie.
Uh, Tina wanted a little French bulldog, just a little dog for the truck. Didn't want anything too big, but I didn't want to spend the money, $1,500 for a French bulldog, and so stupid me, I went ahead and paid $350 for a golden retriever, but she ended up being a great dog. She's a nice protector of the truck, because if anybody walks around the truck, she'll bark at them. So nobody actually wants to come up to the truck. But what they don't realize is, if somebody came up to the truck, she'd just lick them to death. That's just the way she is. So.
And how is that on the truck? Do you find customers are friendly towards that, or are they?
Well, we don't really have too many customers come up to the truck.
Okay.
It'd mostly be people at the truck stops, other truck drivers. They're walking by or walking up in between the trucks or whatever. She'll bark at them. But we know that it's just her actually just wanting to get their attention, but her bark sounds mean, and it's really not. And yeah, I don't know. She's just a great dog, actually. As somebody to, especially like with Tina, if I'm sleeping and she's at the truck stop, and I don't have a worry about her walking around the truck stops, because Maisie's always with her. So.
Are you ready to take your driving career to the next level? Well, look no further than LGT Transport. LGT specializes in tanker-specific materials like cryogenic liquids, carbon dioxide, specialty gases, and more. From transporting liquid nitrogen to NASA's Artemis program that fuels humanity's trips to the moon, to supplying hospitals with pure oxygen that saves countless lives, LGT hauls it all. LGT is hiring coast to coast, looking for local drivers, over-the-road drivers, and teams. We offer great benefits and excellent pay while working with a friendly team of experienced drivers. Does working for LGT sound like something you're interested in? Be sure to apply at lgttransport.avatarfleet.com/jobs. Again, that's lgttransport.avatarfleet.com/jobs. Take the leap and let's move forward together. Also, I guess this year, or was it last year, your mom got sick.
Yeah.
And I think that one of the things that happens, particularly when you're an over the road truck driver, is that you have family things that come up that are sometimes difficult to manage.
Yeah.
So I kind of wondered if you would mind talking a little bit about, how do you take care of aging parents when you're over the road?
Yeah. Well, we came home, about every 3 weeks we go home. And so about a year ago or so, when we got home, I could just tell things weren't right with my mom. She's just forgetful. Uh, I guess just typical old age, starting to the beginnings parts of dementia. Um, wasn't remembering to eat, wasn't remembering to clean up after herself, that kind of stuff. And with my wife being a nurse, she's seen the symptoms of what was really going on. She ended up having to go to the hospital, and basically now she's going to an assisted living home. Um, but what's nice about it is, I guess, with my wife being a nurse, she knows how to take care of certain things like that and knows what questions to ask. Um, so it was nice for her to actually be able to step out of the truck and go home. And knowing that my mom's taken care of, I'm actually able to come out and work. I still get to go home and see her whenever I want because I, I'm being an owner operator. I can go home when things I really need to be home for. Um, and just with Tina being there, it's a lot more comforting knowing that she's being taken care of and it's not just some nurse being paid to do it.
Yeah. I think sometimes being an owner operator gives you a little bit more flexibility when things like that happen.
Yes, definitely.
Yeah. And what's nice in your situation is you and your wife run team.
Right.
And if something comes up, then one of you can stay home and one of you can drive and
Right.
still manage to make ends meet. So
Yeah.
I think it's much harder for some of the solo drivers that are out there.
Yeah.
We have a
Oh,
particular.
it would definitely be hard if I was a solo driver, and because knowing my mom's situation, I might have had to have worked local around Ohio and just so I could be home every day to take care of her. But doing it this way, uh, I know that there's always somebody there to take care of her, and I have the ability to, uh, I don't know, what do you want to call it?
Adjust your schedule?
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
To accommodate that.
right.
Right. So, is there anything else that you'd like to share with the people who are out there listening?
Uh, Other than really just if you're looking to get into trucking, period, um, I've done all kinds of things. I've done uh, the van trailers, LTL freight. I've done reefer, flatbed. I so wish I would have just done cryogenic right from the get go. It's so much easier. You don't have to wait on shippers for anything. You get loaded, you go and you make your delivery. You're not waiting in line for anything, for the most part. Um, the job itself is easy. Physically, it's not a hard unloading 40,000 pounds of ketchup, at a food warehouse, that you have to do by hand. No, I mean, this is, you lift a 20-pound hose and hook it up and you press start on a pump. I mean, it doesn't get much simpler. There's some other technical things you got to learn, but it's simple. And I just really wish I'd have done it a long time ago.
So, of the cryogenics, then, what's your favorite? Is it CO2?
Oh yeah, CO2 is easy.
Really?
It's the easiest to learn. Really, all you got to do is worry about two pressures.
Right.
Oxygen, argon, nitrogen, uh, nitrous oxide. They're all easy themselves. There's just a little bit more hands-on with that. Um, the nice thing about CO2 is once you start the pump, you just watch a gauge, and that's basically it. Wait for it to empty out and turn around, go back, do it again.
What about hazmat? Does that worry you?
No,
Mm-hmm.
it never really did. I mean, I had hazmat right from the get go, even with Schneider. Um, obviously I had to have it to work for
Right.
them. Um, the first hazmat load I ever hauled, I think it was a half a pallet of pails of paint. And I was so scared to drive it because I got these placards on my trailer that says flammable. I thought the thing was going to blow up or whatever. And, you know, that's the only scary thing that, is in the very beginning. Then once you realize that these companies, especially with all the safeties that are on these trailers that you guys have here, so many things have to go wrong in order for anything
Sure.
to go wrong. And it's just not going to happen. There's just too many safeties in place. So no, I'm not scared to haul hazmat or anything.
One last question, and then we'll let you go. What is something people might not know about truck drivers?
We're all usually very family oriented because we're away from our families quite a bit, that we miss them a lot more than most people probably do. So, and that's the nice thing about actually having my wife with me now. After 28 years, she's come out with me. And so, yeah, I think it's probably missing family. So most of us are more family oriented.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time today. Appreciate you joining us.
Okay.
Thanks to Mike Noble. So that's it on this episode of Driver Stories. Be sure to download and rate our podcast and follow us on social media. We post new content daily and would love to hear from some of our listeners about what they think of the podcast, and send us your questions. If LGT sounds like a good fit for you, visit www.lgttransport.com for more information. Or you can also visit lgttransport.avatarfleet.com/jobs and apply today. Thanks everyone for listening.